Good evening, everyone. Welcome to This, That, and the Other, a show where we talk about Detroit and MSU sports. We have a pretty big upcoming weekend of college football in-state with the Michigan Wolverines, MSU Spartans, both kicking off, and all the other directional schools, Western, Central, Eastern. But today's video is just kind of wrapping up the NFL this past weekend. With a couple big stories. One was more of a around the league kind of thing, and one of it is more, having to do with our Lions. But so if you haven't heard by now and you're an NFL fan, maybe you're just getting back from a camping trip or something. Andrew Luck has retired from the NFL. This is as of Saturday evening. And he made an announcement at the halftime, I guess, to his teammates of the Colts and Bears game. And he ended up getting booed on his way out of the stadium in Indianapolis. There's a lot of things I want to comment on with Andrew Luck. I think the first thing that I want to mention is, and this isn't a huge surprise to me, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was here predicting this, but, Andrew Luck does kind of have the personality, seem like the type of person that would, listen to his body, make the right decision, and, not put, the rest of his life in jeopardy for playing football. If he felt like his body was being, his body wasn't recovering the right way, or he just didn't feel like he could take the hits anymore, this, that, and the other thing, whatever it might be. But Andrew Luck, he's a Stanford-educated guy. He's an engineer, got an engineering degree, and he's just a very smart individual, very classy individual. And along with that comes just the ability, I guess, to know when to call it quits. And it's pretty impressive. I think a lot of NFL players, they're just kind of like they're going to make their money now and ask questions later. And I understand that. The NFL has great earning potential if you're able to stick around in the league. And, the NFL has come under controversy in recent years with, injuries that last much longer than what your playing career lasts. These are injuries that, you just have to take with you, and, you're not able to just heal from them over time, obvious. Andrew Luck recognized that, and he had good years. He was a performer, performed at a very high level for the Colts, and the Colts have got to feel a little bit shafted because the investment they had in him, and they had high hopes for him, and I think they thought he was really gonna turn the corner to be an elite quarterback. Win some Super Bowls, or at least a Super Bowl. And, Andrew Luck, like I said, he's got his priorities in place, and I think it's pretty impressive. As far as the Colts booing him on his way out of the stadium, I don't want to come down too hard on them. And the reason why is just because this is, in professional sports, it's just kind of a heat of the moment kind of thing. We talked about this before, Toronto Raptors fans, when they were cheering that Kevin Durant was injured, I think they just lost themselves in the moment. And, when you're a group of fans and everyone else is, you see one person doing it, I think it's one of those things where everyone just kind of thinks it's acceptable or okay because, we all think that, people are generally good people, and I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I think that's what the perception is. But I give the Colts fans a pass on this. I would be surprised if Jim Irsay, didn't go, try to have some conversations with Andrew, in the future, maybe seeing if he can come back. Doesn't sound like they're going to do the Lions thing where they go after some of his money, although honestly, I'm kind of on the fence on that. I think that, when contracts are signed, you do have to fulfill a contract, and if you don't, then you should be expected to pay a little bit something back. That's just my opinion. But we'll see how long Andrew Luck stays retired. The Colts are probably going to be looking at other options from other teams trying to get a different starter. I just don't think they want Jacoby Brissett necessarily to commit to him for a whole year. There's been talk about, could the Colts go after Eli Manning? It would be pretty ironic. Eli ended up playing in Indy for a couple seasons. It could be an interesting dynamic if you think about it. If Eli plays for the Colts for a year or two, and then maybe in a year or two, Andrew Luck feels strong enough to come back, or his body, he just feels up to it. He misses the game. I don't think of Andrew Luck as a person who, I think the decision that he made was I got a feeling it was kind of a final decision. He doesn't seem like he just doesn't seem like the person who would go back on retiring. Like someone like a Brett Favre. No offense, but I think Eli is probably a far more intelligent person than he is. So I attribute a lot of this to Eli. Did I say Eli? Andrew Luck. You guys know that I'm terrible with screwing up names on this thing. I think, when you compare like Brett Favre to Andrew Luck, I think Andrew Luck would be by far the, more intelligent person. So that's what I was trying to say earlier. And I think, like I said, I think an intelligent person makes his decisions and generally sticks with them. So, I'm not counting on Andrew Luck coming back, but we'll see. It would be interesting to see. And as much as you hate to see Andrew Luck retire, he was a guy who I thought was, just an overall classy guy. He was a guy you root for, even if he's not really playing for your team. Unless he's playing in your division, which he wasn't. He wasn't an NFC North guy. So, I root for Andrew Luck. I think there's a lot of people who aren't Colts fans that root for him. And it would be kind of cool if he ended up coming back. But Andrew Luck is not a one-dimensional type of person. He's not the kind of person who's going to be screwed when he's done playing football. So Andrew Luck has a lot of different options. He could pretty much do whatever he wanted. He could start a business if he wanted. He could do virtually anything. He could run for president probably. Just, I guess, kind of wrapping up with Andrew Luck there. Guys, let me know what you think about the whole Andrew Luck situation. Do you guys think that he should have stuck it out at least for this year? Because that's another thing, I guess, that's an issue is, you retire one preseason game before it's, regular season time. Should he have just sucked it up for this season and retired in the off season? Now to that point, I do think that there's some validity to that. I think he retired very close to the beginning of the season, and I do think that he's not, like I said, he's not a classless person. It just, that's how things worked out. He planned at the beginning of the preseason, he planned on playing, and he figured out that he really couldn't play, and his pain wasn't going away, so he made the decision when it became time, and when you make big decisions, timing isn't always perfect, but so I don't hold that against him either. The Lions had a couple big injuries in their preseason game against Buffalo. Jared Davis had a pretty scary injury, and then it seemed like virtually a couple plays later there was Frank Ragnow on the ground, and he was going through an injury. And Jared Davis is going to miss some time. Looks like Frank Ragnow is going to miss a limited amount of time. Probably just a couple weeks. He might miss, I'm sure he'll miss the final preseason game. He might miss Arizona, which they probably won't need him for. Maybe he'll miss the Charger game as well. But, were the Lions playing with fire a little bit? I think on Friday they had a lot of starters in. Let's not beat around the bush. They had Ragnow. Obviously, they had Stafford still in the game. They had a lot of their starters, a lot of their, not just starters, but key guys going into late into the second quarter. And, we were almost under the impression that the Lions weren't going to play any starters in this game. So, I kind of feel like that they kind of made the right decision to play some of their starters, because I just think it's you can't just go in completely flat-footed into a NFL regular season. You got to get at least some snaps against some other competition. And I know they have dual practices, but you still need to see what's going on in game. You need to see how you stack up against those other teams. So again, kind of like the Andrew Luck thing, I don't really hold that against the Lions. It was kind of a very kind of scary preseason game for the Lions. And after those injuries, they immediately just started yanking anyone who had any relevance to the team out of the game. So I guess they learned their lesson, and we probably won't have to see any of them in the final game against Cleveland. And I know you guys are all kind of wanting the preseason to be over with, and just hang in there, you guys. We got one more against the Browns, and then we got college football starting this week, so you don't have to be completely devoid of any quality football this week. I believe Michigan is going to open against Middle Tennessee State, and our Spartans are going to open against Tulsa. And I'm going to definitely do a video later in the week before that game starts, probably Thursday, I'm guessing. Just do a season preview for the Spartans. And, just hang in there, guys. It's not much longer. The preseason is like an eternity. It's kind of hard to believe that the preseason is basically a quarter of what an actual regular season would be. There's nothing we can really do about that. But, just pray that the Lions stay healthy for the remainder of the preseason. And I guess that's a wrap, you guys. Like I said, stay tuned for that video, for that Michigan State preview video coming out later this week. I'm just going to kind of break down the schedule. Maybe talk a little bit about how overall just feelings about the team. One thing I failed to mention, I did end up going to meet the Spartans last week on Monday, and it was a very interesting experience. I'd like to share that with you guys sometime, and that'll be a very interesting podcast as well. So, it's going to be a lot of Spartan, a lot of Lions podcasts coming up, you guys. I hope you guys are looking forward to it. I sure am. But, hang in there and go green and go Lions.